thank you all so much for joining. I'm Latara Harris, the founder of We Empower Women, and just so incredibly excited that everyone could be with us tonight. This has been an incredible series. We started talking about the importance of loving on ourselves. We did a lot around our affirmations and making sure that we're surrounding ourselves with people that encourage us and inspire us. And then we move forward, and that first session was with Vernon, who is back with us tonight. We'll talk with him momentarily. We moved into our second segment on preparing for that breakthrough moment, and that's when we had Dr. Linda Singh on, who is an absolute rock star, just doing tremendous things all over the place, really teaching us and talking to us about, everyone, if you could mute your phones when you're in as well, talking to us about what you need to do to sort of prepare for that breakthrough moment. So Linda Singh was fantastic. And then we moved on with our session that we had last week. How many of you remember Michelle Lopez that was with us, telling us to show up for yourself, show up and show in for yourself, unapologetically, my dear friend, Michelle Lopez. And tonight really is about what we need to do and getting prepared for the journey ahead. So you know that, of course, we are normalizing mental health and taking care of ourselves. A lot of people, especially in our community, sort of struggle with that. Like I've said from the very beginning, I don't know how people do it without it. I have had help for a very long time. I'm at a point where I have just, at this point, like really good coaching that's helping me along the way. But of course, you know, we all have difficult times in our lives. I mean, it's just a part of human nature. And so when that comes, we need to make sure that we're reaching out and getting the support that we need. So tonight, we're going to talk about the strength for your journey. Couple ground rules that we have for those of you that are new with us tonight. Give us a reaction. Show us that you're here. Show us a hi, a wave, or something. Let us know it's your first time with us tonight. We love seeing first timers. Hello, Joyce. Good to see you. Wonderful. So glad to see you. Any other? I guess I gotta go through. There's so many people logged in tonight. I gotta scroll through and see who our first timers are. Some of you are on and off camera. Thank you all so much. We have a YouTube channel. We'll be making sure that you all are a part of, you know, that you'll get information. Hey, Princess, first time from California. You're getting information about our YouTube channel. For those of you that are not on our mailing list, we're going to put in the chat a link that you can fill out right now, or you can, you know, copy it, send it to your phone so that you can fill it out later. But it's really very important that you make sure that you are in our database so that we can send you information and you're aware of everything that's going on. So with that said, everyone's in the chat. Y'all are on fire already. We have, you know, I know that your time is so precious. The other thing, you know, we just don't have a lot of time this day and age. And the last thing you want to do is come on and deal with a lecture. 8 o'clock at night, you put those children to sleep, or maybe not, who knows, someone might bust through the door here. The last thing you want to deal with is a lecture. And so we try to make this conversational. We like for you all to put your comments in the chat. If you have questions early on, please get them ready to go in the chat. We're here to help you along the way. So without further ado, we want to bring back Vernon Ware.
All right, I'm eating.
Oh, okay. Everyone, if we can mute your phones, that'd be fantastic. Okay, you can mute your phones, but Vernon, welcome back. You're on mute.
Good to be back. Good to be back. Good to be back. And hello, everybody. Just as she said, tonight is going to be a great time. We're going to pack as much as we can into this time frame. And so therefore, we are asking that as we go through, if you do have questions, we are going to have a dedicated time for question and answer. But definitely make sure that you're putting them in there so we can kind of be populating as we go along. And I'm just excited about the journey tonight. So let's jump on into it.
All right, well, let's go right into it. So here we go. We've gotten all this work done, Vernon, and the conversation is, we want to have a discussion around having strength for the journey. Mm-hmm. So let's just unpack that journey. What is the journey?
And I think one of the things that is important for us is that a lot of times when we look at the journey, we're looking at just the destination. And so therefore, almost everything is like, how do I get to this point? How do I get to the next promotion? How do I get to the next tax bracket? How do I get to the next change in relationship stage? All of those type of things. And so the part is that sometimes we focus so much on the destination that we lose the beauty of the journey. So it's almost like just a quick example is a guy basically told two of his students to go to a location. And one person got into a car, the other one started to walk. And so even though obviously the person who got in the car got there quicker, when the teacher asked, well, what did you see? What did you see along the journey? What did you experience along the journey? He really couldn't say anything because he was just going so fast. He just wanted to get to that destination. When he asked the same question of the person who had walked, that person was able to say, I saw this in nature. I saw this in, humanity. I saw these things. I saw all of this different stuff. And so therefore, one of the things that when we talk about the journey is don't be so focused on just getting to a destination, because many times for many persons, obviously on here, myself definitely included, we are achievement oriented. We want to achieve something. We don't feel like we've done something until we've done something. So you totally dismiss the fact that you breathe today, that you totally lived through today, that you made it to the end of this day. And so therefore the thing is that sometimes it's for us to slow down and then to walk our journey. And in some cases in that journey is rest. Sometimes in that journey is reflection. And yes, sometimes in that journey will be achievements, will be milestones and all of that. But everyone's journey is different. The thing is to be able to walk it with intentionality and being present. So what happens is many times, I think I said this a little bit before, but we split ourselves. So part of you is in your past. Part of you is in the stuff that's happened to you and all of that. Part of you is in the future. Okay, I want to do this. This is going to be the case. All of those things. And part of you is where you are right now. The challenge that we run into is that at times we get to a space where not enough of us is in the right now. That more of us is in either our past or more of us is in our future. And so we get to the point where we lose the right now. And so therefore, as you're going through this journey of life, then the part is, how do I get to the right now? How do I get to this space that is just me being present? So imagine, and I hope you don't mind, but we've all had the experience of a bad date. Don't raise your hand, just look straight ahead. Nobody will know the difference. But we've all had the experience of a bad date. And what do you think in a bad date? The moment you're in a bad day, you're like, oh, I cannot wait for this to be over. What have you done? You've immediately taken yourself out of the present moment. And if it's a really bad day, that's actually not so much a bad thing. But you've taken yourself out of it to another place. You've taken it to a place that is better for you. The problem is that when we don't live in the present, when most of us is not where we are, then most of our power is not where we are. And so therefore, part of really being able to be empowered to go through the journey, part of having the strength for the journey is to be present in that moment. And sometimes that means that being present in the moment means that we may feel pain. Being present in the moment may feel that we feel grief. I think I'm not the only one that when we had Chadwick Boseman pass away, that was something where I felt that was not something that I was enjoying. That's not something that was great. But at the end of the day, I had to be in the moment and be able to even deal with those feelings so that I could then move forward. So really just being in the journey, a lot of it is going to be being present. Yes, you want to have a destination. Yes, you want to have a direction, but don't let the destination move you so fast through the journey that you miss the growth, that you miss the beauty of the journey.
That's a word. That's a word. We do. We all stay past, future, rarely in the present state. And that was beautifully written. So Vernon, then how about strength? Okay, so we've gone through what is the journey. So now what is strength, and how does that look like? What does that look like for everyone? How does that look?
So I'm glad you asked that, because strength is different for every person. And so sometimes we look at and we can see strength in someone, and we can admire the strength in someone, but that may not be our strength. So for me, one of my strengths is a sense of humor. So it's a case where I may go through certain things, or I may have to deal with certain things, and I'm always going to have that ability to hopefully have that sense of humor, which gives me a sense of perspective, which allows me to kind of roll with the punches and things like that. For other persons, it may be a perseverance and a sense of purpose and commitment that is almost so disciplined that that becomes a strength. So I think really the thing is that everyone has to determine what is strength for you, because it may be different things. For some persons, it's their faith. For some persons, it is their work ethic. For some person, it is just honestly their creativity and their spontaneity. But the thing is this, is that whatever that strength is, it's already in you. It is already in you already. And then part of it is being able to really, for lack of a better word, to access it and to give it the room to be able to flow and to be able to flourish and grow. And so therefore, when we talk about strength for the journey, we know that one of the things is that life is tough. I mean, not that you came on here tonight for me to tell you that life is tough. I think everybody's experienced that at some point in time. But the thing is this, is that when you are walking this journey, specifically if you're going to do it authentically, then that does mean that there are going to be ups, but there are also going to be downs. And so honestly, having one of the strengths that we all need to have is a sense of our own, and forgive the colloquialism, but our own dopeness, that you are awesome by yourself. One of the things that sometimes when I'm really nervous before a speaking engagement or something else like that is I'll just listen to the first part of a song by, and I know I'm dating myself, but a group called Tribe Called Quest. And one of the songs they have is Can I Kick It? And then the thing is this is, there you go, exactly. So I see some people nodding up. So the thing is this, is that even in that song, that's an affirmation. So the question is, I'm faced with something. And so now I'm asking myself, can I do this? Can I kick it? And then immediately the response is, yes, I can.
Yeah.
And so therefore the thing is that there does have to be a knowledge of who you are. There also has to be really this knowledge and the strength that comes from you are not what you do. Let me say that again. You are not what you do. Sometimes we get so, because then if we quote unquote do well, then we feel good about ourselves. If we quote unquote do bad, then sometimes we feel bad about ourselves. The thing is this, is that there are times when you're going to be learning something new. And so therefore, because of that, you're not going to do it as well, at least initially, and you may never get to do it well. I love singing. I am a horrible singer. There is no question about that. So therefore, the thing is, if I only was going to sing when I could do it well, I would never do it. And I would miss out on the joy, at least for me. Now, it wouldn't be joy for anybody else hearing it, but at least joy for me in terms of being able to do it.
Sorry.
So therefore, I think that there are times when we do have to kind of look at it and then really be able to say that, okay, this is a space that I may not necessarily be great at yet. And even if I'm not great at it yet, that's okay, because I accept me. And I'm okay with me, and I'm okay with going through this journey. Doing this journey, I'm going to have some wins that I don't deserve, and I'm going to have some losses that I don't deserve. And so therefore, I'm going to keep moving. And so I think that that strength is different, but you have to have strength of just an acceptance of yourself and honestly believing in yourself. And some people may call it arrogance. I think it's arrogance when you are totally lying to yourself. I think it's different when you are speaking well of yourself. And I think that's confidence. So either way, you're speaking to yourself, but it would be one thing to lie to yourself, which is where I think that you are talking about arrogance. But confidence is when you're speaking correctly to yourself and you're speaking well of yourself. Sometimes we don't know how something is going to work. And so I say, I'm going in believing that it's going to be okay.
Absolutely. And I knew y'all wouldn't let me down, Vernon. We were like, well, maybe people won't put anything in the chat. I said, oh, they're going to put things in the chat. So here you go. Tammy has a question, Vernon. What about the challenge of having to always be the strong person at work, at home? Is it just me? No, it's not you. Or does it seem like the Black woman is always expected to be able to carry the struggles, challenges of the world? Not only the Black, all the women, right? But yeah, you're absolutely right. Without missing a beat. What about that strong mess that we get painted on us all the time?
But this is the thing. And so you can be, so to every strong person, at some point you've gone to sleep. It did not take away from your strength because you weren't doing anything at that point in time. I would tell you this, even now in his older age, I would never sneak up on Mike Tyson because I know he's liable to knock me out at any point in time. But even when he's not in the ring, he's still strong. So even when he's not doing the thing that he's known for, he still has strength. And so therefore, the thing is that sometimes we do then take our strength and say, if we're not consistently doing it. Now, this becomes the part is that sometimes we do have a lot that's on us. Sometimes some of what's on us, we put on us. And then sometimes even what's been put on us, we have to take off.
Wait, Vernon. Sometimes we put it on ourselves. I just want to make sure we all hear that.
And the thing is this, is that so even as it goes to this election, so trust me, I'm not going to be political right now, but I have heard it in many different Zoom sessions and chat rooms, even personal conversations where this election has been put, quote unquote, on women. That women are going to be the ones that have to determine it. And the thing is this, is that, yeah, they will determine it, but it's the case of now this pressure of it being put on you. Now, this becomes a thing. If Latara had asked me to come on and look like Idris Elba, that is going to, well, that's not a challenge. But the thing is this, if you had asked me, no, I'm joking, but if she had asked me to do that, then that could have been pressure if I accepted. But if I say I'm not going to do that, like that's just not me, that's not authentic to who I am. And many times what we do is we accept, for lack of a better word, burdens and obligations from others that are not ours, or we accept them to an extent that is beyond ours. So if we were to, if Latara would say, okay, you're going to come on, but I'm going to need you to talk the whole time. No, I'm not going to do that. I'll share it with you, but I have to push back against that. And then we take so much credit, or in some cases, blame for the result. So even if something doesn't work out, even if there were other factors, then there are times when you take all of the blame, and that's just too much. And we're not talking about shirking responsibility. I got bills to pay like everybody got bills to pay. There are times when I work longer than I should, as well as, but I know that I'm working longer than I should, as opposed to saying, well, this is what I should be doing. So, hey, this isn't necessarily a religious group, but I know people have religious connections. And so therefore, if even God could take a day off, then so can you.
Come on now. So can you. Absolutely. All right, we have another question. Nicole has a question. It's easy for some to shut out and shut down. How do you strike the balance between coping and pushing through hard or bad times and feeling the pain, disappointment, or whatever, and being resilient enough to recover and to bounce back, right? So we could shut out, shut down, let it go, but then just having that resilience, which we have to find in our pinky toe, if it's there, you've got to figure out how to get back up and keep moving. Right. How do you strike that balance, I guess is the question, between coping and pushing through it?
So I think one of the things is that there are times where we run from emotion. So therefore, we may feel something and then immediately go to action. And so one of the things that I found is that there are times when that emotion just needs to be held for a second. I remember one of the worst breakups I had in my young little heart in high school. And I remember, now y'all don't know nothing about the Quiet Storm and Melvin Lindsay, but I remember Melvin Lindsay and the Quiet Storm, and he did a triple play of, oh, come on, what's her name? Living All Alone. Phyllis Hyman. So it was a triple play of songs, and it ended with Living All Alone. So it's raining, I'm crying, and I needed that moment. It wasn't that moment to say, okay, where do I go next? It wasn't that moment to figure out, okay, well, if she broke my heart, then who else can I put my sights on, or anything else like that. At that point, it was okay for me to sit in that emotion. And I think sometimes what happens is when we don't sit in the emotion, at least to experience it, and then immediately move to action, that emotion still sits within us. And then over time, it's almost like it can become an infection because it's still there. You haven't done anything with it. You haven't given it its voice. So sometimes even before we go to coping, even before we go to anything else, is to be able to experience that emotion. After you've experienced that emotion, then now you probably have a little bit more energy, a little bit more power to then be able to figure out what to do next. But there are going to be times where that takes time. And sometimes the thing to do next is simply just to breathe.
Be still. My goodness.
Sometimes you don't have a plan just yet. And then that is the point where you say, okay, I'm going to sit until I know where to go. I remember one time I got lost and I was using Waze, and it was kind of like a rural area. And for a minute, my phone went dead. And so I had to charge my phone back up and wait for it to come on. There was no way I could go. I could go somewhere, but I might be going in the wrong direction. So I literally just had to wait until I was able to hear and get better instructions to be able to move forward. I think sometimes we have a desire to move so quickly that sometimes we don't move correctly. We don't move wisely. So sometimes being able to just take a minute and then be able to move forward. And then going back to kind of what I said before, there is a belief in you that a lot of things, unfortunately, will not be fair. A lot of things will not be as they should. And you are going to survive it because you already have.
Vernon kept telling me that when we were having our sessions. I'm like, but I'm not. He really is. Oh my goodness.
But you have. Think about it this way.
Yeah.
Everybody that's on here now has survived 100%
100%
bad days. You survived. None of those bad days killed you because you're still here. Now, there was pain associated. There was other things. So even the resiliency that you're talking about, even in the question, the thing is this, and let me say this, resiliency does not mean that you don't feel anything. If you get to the point where you don't feel anything, and all of my medical people on here would answer it better than I would, if you get to the point where you don't feel the sensation of pain, that's not a good thing. That means that something is wrong. And so therefore, it's not for us to make ourselves into these machines that then can power through everything. Some stuff we don't power through. Some stuff we crawl through. Some stuff we just get through. But the thing is this, we don't lose the knowledge that we will. And other times you just need help. You might need to call somebody and just say, look, for the next 15 minutes, I need to either cry or cuss or combination of the two, and then we'll pray together and then, I don't know, get drink, whatever. But the thing is this, is sometimes we do try to do it by ourselves. And sometimes we can, get help on that. But some things, it's okay if it takes a while for you to get back. You know that you will, but don't rush it either.
Vernon, one of the things I just kind of recall as we were kind of going through this healing process, and again, it's an ongoing process. You're never fully healed. You're always, seeking and growing and what have you. But I remember like not wanting to feel that pain, right? Not wanting to get so deep that I would have to, deal with again, all of us are shaped differently. Everyone's shaped differently and so forth. Like, I don't want to deal with the fact that daddy wasn't a certain way at a certain time. Because right now, daddy is, Harry knows, daddy is number one. She had this talk with me before, her and Adrian. And so I just didn't want to deal with that, right? But it was so necessary to get through some of those deep moments to really have an understanding about how we're shaped individually, and how, I think Michelle talked about it when she was on our last conversation, and how we've allowed life to, to pour on us. We've allowed our parents and others to pour on us their insecurities, right? So we don't want to move forward. But I think you're right on, you're spot on when you say that we must sit still, and we have to endure. I don't want to say endure, but we have to touch that if we truly want to heal.
And this is the thing, your feelings are trying to tell you something.
Woo.
So in a way, it's just you not listening to you. So it's so the thing is this, if nothing else, I'm going to listen to me. So even if I know I still have to stay up till 2 a.m. to finish a project, I can still listen to myself at 10 and say, this sucks. and I can take the 5 minutes it takes to, have my little pity party, to go ahead and do my little temper tantrum, then get a cup of coffee and get back to it, because I at least listen to myself. And so that's part of it. So resiliency does not mean you don't listen to yourself. It does mean I listen to myself, but then at the same point, I also may say, okay, I did hear that, and I'm going to be sensitive to that. And at the same point, this has to be done. Now, there's another point where it might be that 10 o'clock, and I'll say, you know what? You're 100% right. This project is not getting done tonight. So therefore, hey, let me go ahead and, switch to something else. But you don't want to get to the point where you stop listening to your emotions, because eventually they'll stop talking. And then when your emotions stop talking to you, then you really lose a valuable part of who you are.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, Anissa has up here, it's scary to ride that wave and not knowing that you can get yourself back, right? Because it's tough enough that we have to experience it. But then when you
I get so excited when you say that, because the thing is, get yourself back to what? Like, you're never getting back. You're always going to be different. You're always going to be something new. So the thing, and so once again, that's, and so not knocking it, because it's what we do all the time, but that's a destination piece. I got to get back to this. I got to recover this. I got to show them I'm okay, and all that type. Forget them. This is your journey. Walk your journey, go through your journey, and wherever it takes you is where it takes you. But no one gets onto a river and goes backwards. So even if you got sidetracked or something else like that, when you get back on the river, that river is still different, because water has moved, time has passed. So I think sometimes when we talk about trying to get back somewhere, no, I'm still moving forward, and I may have a similar destination. And so that part is fine. But my journey is what's going to get me there. And sometimes that journey may lead me to a different space. That journey may lead me to a different thing. But when you put that pressure on yourself, I got to get back. In some cases, there is no get back, because what's in front of you is still going to be better, because the get back means that part of me is now still in that past. Even that past me, part of me is still there. No, I want all of my energy moving forward with me. I need it all, especially what I'm going through. I need it all. So sometimes persons may ruminate over a decision. I made a bad decision here. This was terrible. Well, you made the decision. You're not going to unmake the decision. So how much of your power do you want to put in the bad decision? It's already been done. Obviously, I'm going to get in trouble for this, Latara, but that's all right. This is our last session, so it's fine. Some people have made bad fashion decisions. Just look straight ahead, everybody, and be fine. But some people have made bad fashion decisions. You don't keep ruminating over that bad decision. You say, that was a bad decision. That was a bad hair choice. That was a bad, lover choice. That was a bad whatever choice. Okay, you know it. You've learned from it. Now move forward. And it doesn't mean that you're now going to be exempt from ever making bad decisions again. But if you were able to survive that decision, then you'll be able to survive the ones in the future.
Yes. Woo. All right, y'all. How much time we got? Y'all want to extend it for another hour? No, it's late. It's late. It's late. All right, I'm going to try to get to as many questions. I see you, Paulette. You are putting it in there, firing them up in the chat. Everyone is on fire. Stay on fire. All right, we've got a question here that's from Alex. This is great. I'm totally relating. I find myself on multiple journeys at the same time, which I'm comfortable doing and achieving accomplishments. A lot of us are like that, right? I mean, we're always, moving and so forth. People often ask me, how do you find the time to do this and to do that? I've even been accused myself of having 26, 27 hours in a day because I'm always doing so many things. So what would you say is the best way to answer that in an encouraging way? And it's not mind your business.
So when people are asking, I guess because they're trying to emulate you or following your footsteps, that sort of thing?
I think it's because, come on, Alex, let me see you. Lord have mercy. I
just want to make sure I understand the question.
It's just a general question to ask in a way because I'm always busy and I do such a wide range of things. And they wonder, like, what don't you do? Or why do you, how do you find time to do this? How do you find time to do that? And I want to be able to say it in a way, like I often find myself really not knowing how to answer it, except I just do it.
Okay, and so that makes a lot more sense. I think the thing is that sometimes you'll say, this is me. This is authentic to who I am. Now, the one thing I think we all have to be kind of clear with too is that probably all of us could do with more rest. All of us could do probably a little bit less sometimes. So therefore, the thing is, we do want to be sometimes careful to not push too much on other people. And then sometimes it is just to say, it's okay to say, I don't know. This is my passion. This is what I do. And then all I know is I start out the day. And then between the start of the day and when, I finish, it just seems to happen. And so obviously if there's something that so if it is something where you're planning a certain way, you're doing certain things, but I would say that sometimes it's okay to have some of the mystery of life to not be sure, to be able to say, yeah, I'll be honest, I'm not sure how I do it myself. Because the thing is that it's also going to be for them in their journey to figure out what works for them. And let me say this. I appreciate mentorship. I appreciate lots of stuff. But many of you have paid in blood, sweat, and tears for your secret sauce. Don't give your secret sauce away all the time. Don't give to everybody and anybody to ask. Just because if I came up to you and asked for $100, don't mean you're just going to give it. So sometimes there are persons who we give too much to, not because we're better than them or anything. That's not what it is. But the level of relationship is not worth the level of transfer. That you're transferring more than where that relationship is. And so therefore there should be different levels of how you invest in energy and everything and what you give to people based upon relationship. So there are times when we just give too much away.
Tammy said.
We really do get, and then what eventually happens is we get upset when we don't get stuff back. And sometimes it literally is just, hey, there's some questions I just don't answer.
Yeah. You kind of preach.
No, I'm just saying. It's just, and the thing is this, we want to be helpful. We want to be all of that. And I understand that, but there is a cost. There is a cost. And what's the saying? Sometimes you want to make sure that the juice is worth the squeeze. And so therefore there are times when we give too much of ourselves out to sometimes, and it's not that persons don't quote unquote deserve, because everybody deserves something as a human being. But let me say it this way. It's not your assignment.
Ooh, Vernon, this is Paulette. You are on a roll.
No, It's just
I mean, wow.
some stuff is not your assignment. So it just isn't. And it's okay. And this is where listening to yourself and not immediately jumping to something makes to be able to have, because internally, because sometimes you see somebody's phone number or something else like that, and this goes to listening to yourself, and you get upset. You haven't picked up the phone yet, and you haven't read the email yet, but the moment you see it, you're like, oh, and then you say, well, let me do it. Well, let me ask. Let me talk. Let me have a little powwow with me first. And then I've seen persons. I called you the other day. Yes, you did. That's my response. You sure did. But you didn't call me back. I sure didn't.
I sure did.
I mean, I don't have to. I don't have to give you more than that.
Okay.
And then if you really do push me, I will be honest. With where I was, I couldn't call you back. You couldn't call me back for a week? No, I couldn't. Were you ever going to call me back? Probably not. And the thing is this, and it's not even about being mean, but it is about being authentic. And so sometimes, yes, there are stuff that you have to do and everything else like that. So I'm not saying you do that with your boss or, with your family or something like that. But you do have the right to at least have the conversation. And I think when you have the conversation with yourself, you might be surprised at what you can say and honestly what you should say.
Okay, so Vernon, we, you and I have we always, Vernon and I are constantly reading, constantly sending each other information.
Exactly.
And we started talking about authenticity. There was something that came across and I said, "Ooh, this is powerful, Vernon, we got to cover this." And it said, it was a picture or something that said, the world needs who you were made to be.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
and so therefore, we get to switch roles now, because Latara, that really hit you. You sent it to me, but that really, really hit you. And so therefore, with that, what did you get from that?
Woo. You're just going to put that right back here. Okay. It has taken, some time, all of this work. You all know I've been in this space for a very long time, helping and encouraging and just connecting. Tammy and others have said in the group, I give away a lot. I just do, because I just want all of us to win. I just see that as something that is possible for all of us. And I think that there's enough space out here for all of us. And I've been taken advantage of, and I have those ride-or-dies on the call today that's like, look, you better stop this, you better stop that, but I keep going. But when you think about that, the world needs to know who you were made to be. That is my calling.
Yeah.
And that is what I came to do, is to bring these visions, these concepts together. And it is, in fact, what fills my cup. We all talked about in the very beginning, what are the things that you need to fill yourself? And believe it or not, as much coordination and as everything that's going on, I need to be able to do this, because this is what helps me to grow. And, Vernon, I was thinking about when we were sort of doing the sessions, and I remember I was going through a lot, and as we all are, again, and I gave him this, and I talked to a couple of you about this, but this image of me, I felt like I was in the middle of a pool. I couldn't touch the ground, but I was just kicking. And the only thing that was out was my face. Right? And I'm trying to keep it all together. I'm kicking. And I'm feeling like I'm going to drown. And I remember a friend, I think it was Nikki or one of you, that said, you have got to drown. You've got to let that go. And so where I had to get to is, what is your why from coming from that drowning? And again, we talked about this earlier. Some people have different reasons for their why. And I didn't necessarily have the strength to do it for myself, but I did have the strength to do it for my children. I did want to make sure that they saw a woman who could come through this, despite whatever she was going through. And that was the why. So when you talk about the world needs to see who you were made to be, I needed to come through that so I could be in this space again.
But and if we can go there,
here we go.
And because you actually said it, I think, the way it should have been. Because I think the quote was, the world needs who you were made to be. But the way you just said it now, to me, is much healthier. You said the world needs to see who you were made to be. And the difference is that I think when we are authentically live out who we are called to be, then others benefit from that. But I don't think that we necessarily do it, quote unquote, for them. It is still authentic to who. So I would be doing this even if it wasn't in this type of setting. But I'm doing this because this is who I am. And part of who I am wants to help others. But at the end of the day, it is a case where this is authentic to me. But if I was doing it for, quote unquote, the world, then at some point, the world has to tell me whether or not it was good. The world gets the ability to tell me, yes, this is useful. Yes, this is not useful. And think about how many times we know that what we do is good and it's unappreciated. How many times that what we do is valuable and it's undervalued. And so therefore, I'm always cautious of giving the approval power to the world.
Come on now.
The world can or cannot appreciate it. That's fine. And they can approve or not approve of it. That's fine. But internally, I have to feel, quote unquote, right about it. So even if you talk about persons who, quote unquote, talk about, selling out or things like that, what does that mean? It means that others have approved of something that internally you don't approve upon. And I know somebody said one thing that I wanted to jump to it real quick. And it said, they asked about the theory of the more that you give, the more that you get back. And what I would say is this, is that I'm always careful of just little quotes that, are going to run our whole life. But one of the things I will say is when I look at persons who have achieved great things, they've always been selective. So it was a case where if we look at just anybody, they've normally been selective in some way, shape, or form. Even Jesus, when he raised Lazarus from the dead, he didn't say, "Oh, y'all, come on out." He said, "You, Lazarus, come out." And so therefore, I think that there is power many times in focus. Imagine just going to a dinner party. If you talk to every single person, the thing is that in the talking to every single person, you may not have the impact that you could have if you focus. And this is where sometimes listening to yourself, and for me, I believe obviously listening to a higher power in terms of God, helps you determine where your focus is, what it is that you do. And so I just think that, even in the giving can be selfless, but it still is intentional. It's not just kind of just throwing, and I know that wasn't what the person was saying, was just throwing it out there, but I think we still are intentional.
Yeah. Okay, Vernon, I see that you all are continuing to place your comments in the chat. Thank you all so much. Keep them going. Also, I see that a couple people have joined us. Make sure that you're signed up on our mailing list. That's also in the chat. We'll put that back in there as well, because this is our last session of our self-love series, and we want to make sure we're staying in touch with you. But Vernon, again, I think this whole conversation, and everyone, I need you all in the chat, this was about strength for the journey, right? This was about us needing strength with what we've gained so far to move forward in our journey. I need to make sure that you all have some knowledge and understanding. We've talked about the journey, we've talked about strength, we've talked about authenticity, being versus doing, but I just need to make sure, Vernon, that we are giving accurate info. Well, I know it's accurate, but solid information that helps people go from here on their journey.
Yeah, and so I think that one of the things is that I would say to a certain extent, one of the things that would be helpful for all of us is to take some of our shoulds off, take some of the expectations that because we all have expectations. We have expectations as to what we should do, expectations as to what we to wear, expectations as to how we should talk, expectations as to, almost everything. And sometimes we get so caught up in those expectations along our journey. We get so many false destinations that are actually not good for us, And so therefore, I think that really, if we're talking about being as concrete or practical as possible, I would say that for every single person, if you could set a date, and I mean like a date, every week to spend with yourself.
Mm.
And honestly, I would say a good time frame for that would be an hour. That at least you set aside 1 hour. So whether you're sitting, whether, it's, whatever it is, but you get a moment to kind of really check in with you, because we can get to the point where we do so much in terms of we're doing, that we never get a chance to actually check up. And so think about one of the things that even for us many times is we don't go to the doctor. And we don't go to a doctor for, quote unquote, a checkup. We know we need to, we know we should, but we don't even really stop many times to even do that. And even if we will go to the doctor for a checkup, we almost never have a mental checkup.
Mm.
We never just take time to say, hey, am I flustered? Am I overwhelmed? And if I am that, then what do I do with it? What do I change? So I think being able to, at least if everybody could just take some time of reflection, that's the one thing. The other thing would definitely be to take stock. Take stock of your journey. Take stock, yes, the mistakes, but then also, quote unquote, what you've done well. And also be able to take stock of the strength that's in you. One of the poems that I love is Still I Rise, and really just talks about, that strength that's within us. And so therefore, I would definitely say that. Last two real quick, because I would say everybody needs a soundtrack. Everybody needs a couple of songs or some songs that speak to you. That just whatever it is, but they speak to you. And it doesn't have, it could be anything. Like obviously I told you, one of mine is obviously, Can I Kick It? Frankie Beverly and Mays, Before I Let Go. For me, it just means something. It just works for me, so therefore the thing is you should be able to have that. And then part of strength for the journey is have somebody walking the journey with you. And that sometimes is one of the toughest pieces. It's really hard sometimes for us to open up and to be able to be human. So I don't even want to say, weak or strong, but just to be human, just to be you. Because all of us are strong at times. If you living during these crazy times, you strong.
Mm.
With all the stuff going on in the world right now, we already giving you strong. We can check that box. So therefore, the thing is that where we run the risk of is not that we need more strong people. We need more humans. We need more good humans. If we just have more good humans, that would change the world much better than having just more strong people. And so therefore, being able to then have somebody that you can be human with. And yes, if you don't have a person you can do that, then yes, get you a good therapist, get you a good coach, get you a good trainer, whatever it is. I tell you, I was on my Peloton bike this morning, and the person who was running the class, that they spoke into my life as well. Obviously they weren't speaking to me specifically, but it still was something. So therefore, just don't try to do this by yourself.
Mm-hmm. 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 All right, ladies, I'm telling you, Verna, that was fantastic. I've got about maybe 3 to 4 more minutes for questions that are in the chat, and then we have a pretty amazing song that we're going to try again tonight. Aquanetti, she's going to get. But I'm looking here. Any other questions we have? I know we've been asking them along the way. Nicole had said expectations can set you up for failure and disappointment. Absolutely. Let's go down here.
And what I would say is just manage your expectations. So sometimes we go in with a certain expectation, but then an expectation is a place that I'm trying to reach. And if I don't reach it at that time, that doesn't mean that the expectation was bad. It doesn't mean that I was bad. It just means I didn't reach it. And to be able to have, I think, I'm glad that was there, to be able to have enough love and care for yourself that you can be gentle and kind to yourself when you don't hit an expectation. When we have other people that are going through, we say, oh, it's okay, it's gonna be all right. But when it's us, we're like, oh, how could you not do that? That was stupid, that was crazy. No, be just as kind to yourself. If everybody could just give yourself a hug and just say, I love me. I mean, that
Do it
means
now,
something.
do
I
it now,
love
everyone.
me.
I love me.
I
Somebody
love me.
Wakanda forever.
I
But the
love
thing is this, is
me.
that I love me. And let me just say this. If God can love you, who are you to say that you can't love you? If God, who is the
Preach.
most powerful, whatever,
I'm gonna turn on my
says
phone.
you are worthy of love, then
Yes,
why would
indeedy.
you then
Thank you,
say
Lord.
that you're not worthy of love?
Uh-oh.
Why
Yeah.
would you say you're not worthy of love? If God says it, for God so, come on, John 3:16, let me go there real quick. For God so what? Love the
Love
world.
the world. That
You
he
uses in the world. Bad English, but good theology. So therefore, yeah, he, as you are. So therefore, why would you not love you? And if you're not, then that's part of the time. That's part of the effort. That's part of the work to say, yes, I'm still in process, but shoot, I'm dope. I'm all right. I'm all right. I mean, you know, I'm getting the better, but I'm all right. You know, I got a shirt in my closet. I still can't fit it. There's a killer shirt. But even though I can't fit that shirt down, I'm like, hey, I'm all right. And so some of that is what definitely is a practical piece. If you could just be a little more loving to yourself. And I know some people say, well, if I do that, then I'll never achieve anything. No, you're still going to achieve. Just be loving to yourself as you achieve. You'll just achieve and not hate yourself. That'll be the good part.
That's right. That's right. Ah, this is so refreshing, isn't it, everyone? This was all about us doing what we need to do. And I know Vernon said, take a moment a week. I'm like, take a moment every few hours to love on yourself.
Well, if you can, that's great. I just know for some persons that's tough.
Yeah. So we absolutely, I mean, you know, my regimen is very different than it had been. There are just certain things that are just not going to happen to me now because I have such an incredible love for myself. I've been on an incredible journey, but there are boundaries that will not be crossed any longer with any man, any woman, you name it. And that those boundaries come in place after you have decided that you will not allow anyone or anything to treat you any less than you deserve. So absolutely, we this session has been another amazing one. We have 45, 50 minutes to kind of get it all in, but we just want to thank everyone for coming tonight. I also need to know, and maybe you all can start putting this in the chat, if there are topics that you want to cover. Certainly, if you have our email addresses, we'll be sending you out emails as well, but put those things in the chat if there are things that you want us to cover. Our next set of conversations will be around relationships. And so we'll be talking about those because we know that there are huge, you know, issues that we have in communication and what have you, but we need to kind of dig a little deeper. And then we also have the I don't want to call them life classes, but these, what do we call them, Vernon, sessions where we're allowing us time to go deeper.
Right. That's what we're looking at. Yeah. Almost, I'm not sure if you call it master class or whatever you want to call it, but just, you know, areas where there's probably would be a little bit more interaction. And so almost like a working group, for lack of a better word, you know, that sort of thing. So, or somebody might say a round table. So there you go.
Yeah, so there you go. So those will be coming. Again, you have to be in our, the 5 love languages. Absolutely. Those are good ones. But, and to go into each of those, I know someone had made that comment the other day. So again, make sure you're on our mailing list and you have that information, and please do share this. I mean, we believe that you are the we that's in We Empower Women. You didn't come here for nothing. You came here because you wanted to be fed, and I know that you want to be able to feed others. So we want to just continue to bring you content that is rich, you know, enriching to your lives, fulfilling to your lives, and just helps you sort of get through this life and these times. I know it's been an incredible journey for me as well. Brandon, we're going to go to the song in a second here,
Okay.
but we picked out a song that we thought was pretty awesome for us to kind of close out on for the night. But with that said, I know you all have, how can we best support We Empower Women? Oh Lord, you all are giving so much. I know we're coming, you know, we're a work in progress. Aquanetta and I are working together, some other stuff. Believe me, we're gonna come back with you by then. What we didn't want to do was not move forward with where God was calling us to, and that is to really help and heal and put this information out. So we will be sending out more information because, you know, we do need people to help and intern and do all types of things. So that, you know, we will be sending that information out. But again, you know, let us know where you need help. And I'm going to miss you guys. I'm not, we're going to come back on at some point, probably in about 2 weeks from now on the relationship series. But don't leave without hearing this song. And I'm going to let Vernon take over. I'm going to put everyone on mute. So don't leave without hearing this song.
We start by to tell you that what's in front of you is bigger than what's behind you. Your destiny, your promise, your future. You might as well shout before you get it. Because God sent me here to tell you that what he has for you is gonna be big. That it's my season. That it's my season. You ought to declare that over your own life. Say, I believe. I believe. That it's my time. That it's my time. It's my time. It's my time. And I can feel it. I can feel it. Say breakthroughs in the room. Breakthroughs in the room. It's yours if you want it. Anticipating. Anticipating. God's getting ready to move. God's getting ready to move. Listen, you ought to declare this over your own life. Say it. For I know God, he's working a miracle. Just for me. And it's gonna be. And it's gonna be. Hey, listen, I don't know about you, but I'm excited about my future. Why? It's gonna be big. And it's gonna be big. I'm running into destiny, shouting into my promise. Why? God's gonna open the windows of heaven, pour me out a blessing. Won't be wrong to contain it. Won't even try to explain it, but it's gonna be big. God is gonna blow your mind. God is about to blow my mind. God's gonna open the windows of heaven, pour me out a blessing. Won't be wrong to contain it. Won't even try to explain it, but it's gonna be big. God is about to blow your mind. God is about to blow my mind. Hey, and it's gonna be big. It's gonna be big. It's gonna be big. It's gonna be big. Lord, let it be. My future is big. My destiny's big. My blessing is big. My promise is big. The new job will be big. My future is big. Lord, let it be big. And it's gonna be. Hey, God is about to blow your mind. God's gonna open the windows of heaven, pour me out a blessing. Won't be wrong to contain it. Won't even try to explain it, but it's gonna be big. God's about to blow your mind. God is about to blow my mind. God bless you. It's gonna be big.
All right, y'all. We love you. Love on yourselves. We'll see you the next time. Have a fantastic night. And with that, We're closing, 3 minutes late, but we're closing. Have a good one. Love y'all.